back here on the Cover 3 podcast. And of course, tomorrow's top 25 today is going to be featured on CBSSports.com here in the next little bit. Got to get it done at the next ad break. And I ask you something that I've already answered myself. I got to adjust for Miami, but where should Oklahoma land in the new AP top 25 poll? I think that is the most important question. I think that is the one that has the most interesting conversations around it. So the Sooners are now 6-0. Congratulations, you're bowl eligible. You know, that was a sweat last year. Less of a sweat this year. You now have a win against a top 5 team. Texas was number 3, and that Texas team has a win against Alabama, which just beat Texas A&M. Where are the Sooners?
Top 5
minimum. I agree.
Minimum. You have to.
Yeah, 3, 4, or 5. I think that anything lower than 5 is
disrespectful.
Yes, disrespectful.
Man. Okay.
What are you gonna?
They have a 4-point like crazy back and forth win. The rest of their schedule is still total crap. Like
that's a hell of a win. I could see them at
like 6 or 7.
That's an identity win, man.
Okay, it's a combination now that they have a resume and they are beating the hell out of teams. I mean, there's not many teams that have that combination. There are a lot of teams who have.
You have them like over Penn State, Florida State, Ohio State.
No, over Penn State, yes.
Penn State, yeah.
I think Ohio State and Florida State and Oklahoma, that's the debate. I think that AP voters will have
resume. I don't think it's really close, but maybe it is.
I think AP voters will have those 3 in different orders, and we'll see how it shakes out. I think the voting points will be close.
Penn State and Penn State's good, so Penn State fans, don't take this as me saying you stink or anything, but like, let's look at Penn State's resume.
Also, West Virginia is off. You get nothing.
Yeah, but like so far, you can argue that West Virginia is Penn State's best win. I mean, they've played Delaware, Illinois, Iowa, and Northwestern.
Yeah,
I think Oklahoma's resume is better.
I think it's fair.
So where?
I'd have them 6.
I'd have them 5. I think you leave Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Florida State ahead of them, but I would have them leap Penn State, Washington, Oregon, and USC, especially considering how things are going. But hey, USC did just score to cut it to 3 points.
So so Penn State was off, Washington was off, Oregon was off, USC obviously in action right now. Made it very easy to do the jump. But, you know, Ohio State final score looked better than where it was early, right?
Yeah, Ohio State is. I mean, this is the one thing that I kind of. Do we want to talk about this game?
I mean, now's a good spot to fit it in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like what I have seen from Ohio State this year is that they are going to be undefeated or maybe have a loss come that Michigan game, and then Michigan is just going to beat the crap out of them. I mean, they come off too soft and slow in a lot of these games, and then you just kind of start throwing the ball to Marvin Harrison 50 straight times, and things start to work in your favor. But McCord to me is he's a slow starter. He doesn't come out playing very well from the start. They just haven't looked dominant in any one of their games, save for Western Kentucky. And no offense to Western Kentucky, but it's Western Kentucky. They barely beat Louisiana Tech the other night. Whereas Michigan comes out and just completely destroys everybody it plays right away. And if Ohio State doesn't come out with that same kind of energy that we saw it play against Georgia last year in the semifinal, if that Ohio State shows up for the Michigan game, cool. If the Ohio State that I've seen multiple times already this year shows up for the Michigan game, they're losing by 20.
Yeah, they're definitely not the Ohio State. Like, they don't look like normal Ohio State in 2 ways. One, like the operation of the offense. And now I think when we watch games on Sunday and we see how well Stroud is playing in the NFL,
yes,
I think there is probably some signal to that as far as just how big of a drop-off they have at the quarterback spot. McCord, like, largely took care of the football. In 19 of 29, 320, 2 tutties, no picks. But how smooth it is not really reflected in that stat line. It seems like he's a little bit slow to find it, a little slow to trust it. I mean, there's nothing that says he can't get better throughout the season, but we're also like halfway through the season now. So this may just be who he is for this year. Defensively, though, I mean, they held Talia and some pretty good receivers to, what was he, 21 of 41, 196 and 2 picks?
Mm-hmm.
That's like, I mean, shoot, adjusted net yards per attempt of like 3. That's making him look like trash. And I don't think Talia is. But like the stat line is, like what he performed was. So I think Ohio State's defense is pretty real, man. Like
that's pretty standard for Talia anytime they play a good team, though.
That's fair. Yeah, like Maryland's kind of scammy, just in terms of like there's just such a bifurcation. It's the top teams in the Big Ten, then them, then the teams they can really beat up on.
No, but Maryland's one of my favorite teams in college football because it is the measurement of college football.
Yeah.
Do you have enough defensive backs to guard for long? And do you have good enough pass rushers to apply pressure on the quarterback? Because most college football teams do not have both. Most college football teams do not have both cornerbacks and defensive backs in general who can stick with wide receivers for long enough while also having pass rushers who can apply pressure on the quarterback to force a throw that is going to be ahead of time. Ohio State has that.
Yeah.
They especially have it right now at this point in sort of their defensive development. And so that's why he's going to end up getting exposed against worse teams who don't have pass rushers or defensive backs who are of that caliber. Guess what? He lights them up. I mean, I think, how about this? Like, not to rosy this up, but like if I'm a Maryland fan, I don't come out of this devastated.
No. Like you had a chance, so you're a little disappointed, but no.
You're a little disappointed, but yeah, like, and it was in Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, Maryland is college football level. If you are below the level, then they're going to eat you up. And if you have the pass rushers and the defensive backs, it's probably not going to go well. Like it is almost the easiest kind of game to predict. Final score, obviously along the spread, not always easy to predict, but the outcomes do seem pretty easy to predict. Maryland, even if they play with their food and fall in a 14-0 deficit to Virginia and Charlotte, they will end up over the course of 4 quarters winning those games. Even if they are tight with Ohio State, they're going to end up losing because of these, unique characteristics. Is that fair?
Yeah, I thought Maryland was real feisty actually for like about 25 minutes.
Yeah,
really were. And then they had a nice drive come out of the half too. If you're a Maryland fan, I think you should be pretty damn happy with this team. I mean, you've completely taken care of business for the teams that you can reasonably think you can beat. Right now, we'll see how they do down the stretch, but like you're on pace to easily make another bowl game, which in the Big Ten has not always been a guarantee, right? Like we say, take the check, take the losses. Maryland's one of the OG teams about that, but they're having a nice year. And like they fight. They don't look poorly coached to me. There's just sort of a boiling point that Ohio State can get to. They can't.
Would you rather have Talia or Kyle McCord? So I got a text.
I'd rather bet on the upside. I know Talia doesn't have that kind of upside.
I got a text.
Where I'm trying to go to Ohio State, like I have to hold out hope that he can unlock something. Talia don't have that.
Yeah, but you're holding out hope for something that hasn't been shown.
Yeah, but I've seen 30 games of Talia, and I know he doesn't have that.
All right.
There's some chance that McCord over the next 5 or 6 games finds it.
I had somebody ask me today if Kyle McCord is just Craig Krenzel.
Yay. Joe Bowserman.
What a title. I think he's better than Craig Krenzel, just to be clear.
Can we apply some? Can we apply the heat lamp to Kyle McCord?
I mean,
so here's the deal. Offense in general is being hampered by the fact they can't run the football. Travion Henderson did not play against Maryland. The offense ran for what? I don't know, a
62
yard and
yards.
Attempt.
Yeah. 33 carries.
It wasn't a yard and an attempt, but what? 63 on 22?
1.9 overall, 2.8 sack adjusted. So they were just churning it.
It wasn't working.
Yeah.
The run game, like Chip Trainum, shout out to all my chips. it was not an effective part of their offensive attack. Like it was. And then the pass rush was getting after McCord. McCord is, not exactly making a lot of awesome dynamic moves in the pocket and throws on the run. He'll come up with a highlight every now and then, but this is a flawed offense in my eyes. It's an elite defense. It's a flawed offense.
Yeah, the offensive line's not very good. That was something Bud been on all offseason. Emeka Egbuka is not having the kind of season you'd expected from him. Like he's playing well, but he's just not dominating very often. And you're seeing like the offense is pretty much just becoming send Marvin out there. Marvin's down there somewhere. You know what I mean? Just like chuck it down there, let Marvin make the play. And that's like there was that one play. Was it a fourth down or a third down in like 22?
One along the shorter one along the sideline where
the third and 22 where he chucks it down there and Marvin makes that crazy over the shoulder catch along the sideline while dragging his foot, just doing top 5 pick stuff. When you have that guy, take advantage of it.
Kind of Randy ratio. You remember are we old enough to remember the Randy ratio?
No, who's Randy? I'm young.
All right, for the chat, because and for Tom, because he's super young. When the Vikings had Randy Moss, pretty good receiver, they devised this really, really dumb thing in the preseason where they basically announced to the world that they were going to have a Randy ratio. And they're going to send, I think it was 12 targets or something, like 12 or 15 targets a game, back when nobody got that amount of targets every single game for Randy Moss, which is great, but it's also if you announce that, then they're going to hold you to it every game that you don't do it. So anyway, but they should just Randy ratio Harrison Jr. because he's a freak.
He had 15 targets today?
Sounds good to me.
So over half of McCord's pass attempts were to Harrison. And frankly, I think there needed to be more.
High school teammates. Did you guys know they were high school teammates?
We should do a ranking at some point of the most annoying announcer trope pulls that they do. Did you know that Cooper and Tebow were roommates?
What?
Did you know
Shipley and McCoy?
Yeah, Shipley and McCoy were roommates.
Did you know the Pouncey brothers are twins? No, I had no idea.
What happened?
Well, one showed great patience because he didn't start right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you know Aaron Hernandez? Oh, sorry.
Dude, there was a great shot of Urban on the sideline. He had one finger in his ear and he was talking on the phone. Now I really wanted to screenshot it and have a Michigan State comment just to feed to the masses out there. But
I can't say it on the show, but there was one great tweet about that screenshot I saw today that made me laugh quite heartily.
I mean, they're going to be at Urban's Pint House with an official. I mean, watch out. It's an official work event at Urban's Pint House coming up here in the next little bit.
Jake Fromm Little League World Series was another really good one.
Did you know Matt Stafford and Clayton Kershaw went to high school together?
Did they?
They did.
Huh. I don't want to think about baseball for a little bit. My razor.
I haven't thought about baseball in 4 months.
All right.
We need to figure out the rest of this top 25 though.
Oh, okay. Where does UCLA land?
Back in.
Yeah, obviously.
Dude, that was what a cool game. Did you guys watch this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They ran 97 plays. Nobody does that without double overtime in this new era of the clock rule. They held Washington State to 215 yards.
Yeah, no, this game was about UCLA's defense because I still come away with it a little bit mad at the fact that I don't think Dante Moore played well, which also backed up. I was wrong about everything for my read on this game because Chip Kelly does not trust Dante Moore and Dante Moore did not play well. That was the whole theory was we're coming out of the bye week. The offense is going to hit all these new levels. And that wasn't the case at all. And I'm not going to be bitter about being wrong. I'm just going to say that clearly that's just not what UCLA is. Let's instead celebrate that UCLA's defense kept Cam Ward in check. I thought that was really impressive.
UCLA has a dynamite front seven. And the back four was something we had a lot of questions about. They got a new DC, D'Anton Lynn, who came from the Ravens. And obviously, like UCLA's D coordinator last year got sick in the middle of the season. So, like they were already having issues last year, which is, pretty tragic. But I do think like having a full year of a DC who's like apparently a pretty good DC really helps them. I think Washington State's offense is kind of awesome, and they just shut them down totally. UCLA's offensive line still has problems. I had sort of circled them as like a team that if they stayed healthy on the O-line, the starters would be fine. And I think I'm wrong about that. I like the offensive line is still allowing a lot of pressure, but we're going to do a lot of like day 2, day 3 of the draft. And UCLA has another defensive lineman or guy from the front seven going and getting picked in this upcoming draft. Right. It's like, it's they really, good. You what now?
That was pretty good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. So it was a bit we did on Nolecast because it was like back when FSU's offensive line really, really sucked. Like they would always show the FSU game for whatever pass rusher it was. And so, we would go over the sacks. Like, dun, 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 DeAndre Francois killed. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
As a fan of a school who has long been bad, I am very familiar with look, there's my team during the draft getting dunked on. But I think you go back to week 1. Remember, like when Chip Kelly was giving the halftime interview and he was like all pissed off about how they barely had the ball and they barely had any times to run plays. And he's like, I hope you guys are getting a lot of commercials in. I think we should have known then that this game was going to come. He immediately is like, all right, I'm going to go figure out a way to get 100 plays off in a game. So Chip, they won, but he's probably pissed off. Like we didn't get enough plays off in this one.
All right. So they're back in. Clemson's back in, I assume.
No.
What?
I don't know if that kind of, it's going to look too crappy to beat Wake that little. Plus, Wake almost won that game in the end.
Yeah, we got a lot of teams dropping out, like Missouri, Fresno, Kentucky.
Missouri 1 loss, and it coming to LSU in that manner.
Mizzou's going to fall out.
Mizzou's going to drop out. Like their best wins over a Kansas State team that just got blown out.
Yeah, like Mizzou does not get that same kind
Kansas
of
State did not get blown out.
Kansas State did not get blown out?
No, they lost by 9 or 8
or 7 or 6.
No, it's 28-20, right?
I guess that's fair.
I've got Fresno State dropping out because they've lost to Wyoming. I've got Missouri on the very edge, right behind LSU. It's their first loss of the season.
Okay.
I think Wisconsin jumps in.
Yeah, like Wisconsin should be over Missouri.
Here's a question for you. We know they're going to jump back into the top 10, but how high in the top 10 is Alabama going to be after beating Texas A&M?
Do we want to do that game now?
I don't have them moving.
You've got them staying at 12?
If USC loses, No, I've got 11.
11. Sorry,
yeah.
Because Notre Dame, yeah.
And I've got Texas down to 10.
Oh, I see. I think Alabama's going to. Oh, but yeah. Well, no,
I'm telling you, the Penn State, Washington, Oregon log jam is like, oh, you got 1 loss, you're behind them.
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if they climb up into the top 8.
Man.
Are you guys you're not keeping Kentucky ranked, I assume?
No.
Okay.
No. I would have never ranked. I mean, they were 5-0, but I would have never ranked Kentucky to begin with.
Did Alabama impress you?
No.
Or did it win a football game?
Won a football game.
Jimbo Fisher lost the football game.
Let's go. All right, let's get in on that.
I mean, look, I've covered Jimbo for more than a decade. I've seen him be really, really bad. I tweeted about this over the summer. You guys can actually find it on my Twitter at BudElliott3. I was like, look, you can convince me that Petrino will call this thing, but I cannot wait to see the interaction between these two when it's 4th and 1 from the opposing 45 in a tight game, and Jimbo calls on the punt team, and Bobby Petrino's sitting up there in a booth thinking he's got 4 downs to play with, and he doesn't because Jimbo pulls the rug out from under him. Today, 4th and 1, tie ball game, ball on the opposing 44, punt. This is like failing to not only failing to double down, it's like failing to hit on 11 against a dealer 10.
That's not fair, bud. Jimbo said if it had been 4th and half a yard, he'd have gone.
He also told Danny Dell at halftime, if you watched, that they didn't really need to use that last drive in the first half. They were already up 7, playing well, didn't want to take any risks, right?
Mm-hmm.
He also grossly mismanaged the end of game scenario. Like, you cannot kick the field goal if you're using the timeout there. Like, what are you doing? And then the onside, I really don't get it. Jimbo Fisher is lucky as hell that Mario Cristobal botched this end of game, because on a play-to-play, drive-to-drive basis, Jimbo's game management today was way worse than Mario's. The result was just not quite as obvious.
I will say, though, I mean, that was funny. You mentioned the clock management at the end. I did halftime with Danny on HQ, and Danny was very much hammering Jimbo for how he handled the end of that half, not using his timeouts to get the ball back for a chance to get more points on the board. But first of all, I really enjoyed watching both these defensive lines play, because they're both good and they were both playing dog doo-doo offensive lines that they were just beating the crap out of all day. But to his credit, Jalen Milroe played really well in the second half, I thought. Like, he's Jalen Milroe, so there are some throws he's going to miss. And there's the one time he missed Burton where he was wide open. He had 20 minutes and a wide open Burton, and he threw about 5 feet behind him. And then the very next play, a very difficult pass to make in the corner of the end zone, he drops an absolute dime in over the coverage, over Burton's shoulder. And it's causing me to think that Jalen Milroe is somebody who, when he's got time and he sees the open guy, he puts so much pressure on himself that he screws up. I can relate, like a golf shot after I hit a perfect drive and I go up to hit my second shot and I shank it for 40 feet off the fairway.
Hey, listen, toughest shot in the world is 140 yards out middle of the fairway.
Mm-hmm. There's no question about that being true. And I think Jalen Milroe has, he misses those throws. And then when he's not thinking it, it's just, okay, I got to get this ball there. He actually does a better job. But anyways, he finished with 321 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jermaine Burton had 9 catches for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alabama made plays. I think Texas A&M definitely played a role in giving Alabama too many chances, or at least when they had a chance to step on Alabama's throat and end this game, Texas A&M did not take those chances. Alabama got the chances and they took advantage of them. And I think that they made a bunch of plays in the second half to win this game. So I think that it's kind of a halfway thing. I think Alabama did win the game, and I think Texas A&M lost the game.
Well, why does everybody who plays against Texas A&M have wide open guys in the secondary?
Because their secondary is their weakness. Because their defensive line is tremendous, and that if you're going to do strengths and weaknesses,
and DJ Durkin is your DC. I thought Tommy Rees kicked his ass, honestly. You want to force Milroe to hold the ball, to go through progressions. Texas did it some. Didn't really do that a whole lot. Schemed up a lot of wide open deep shots that he hit, to his credit. I would expect every scholarship quarterback on the roster to hit a couple of those. Now, he also made some really, really good plays. He didn't look crazy twitchy to me, so maybe there was something to that hamstring thing this week, but he slid around the pocket. Well, he thought he made a couple really nice throws. And, A&M, they fought hard in spite of their coaching. But, ultimately Bama gets the dub, and now they've got the important tiebreakers in the West. So it's probably going to be Kirby Saban again.
Yep.
Yeah, Alabama gets LSU and Tennessee in Tuscaloosa. It does not have any conference losses.
Right.
So beat LSU and see you in Atlanta with a shot at the college football playoff.
Yeah.
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 With the least impressive Alabama team that Nick Saban has trotted out since
probably another team that reached the title game, honestly.
Yeah.
The one who was the one that lost to Ohio State?
No. But when you have
2014.
No, but when you had like that's the thing is they don't have the running backs. Like they have the identity of a team that should have Derrick Henry, Trent Richardson, Mark Ingram. Like when they had Eddie Lacy, like when they had the full run of dogs at running back, the fact that you weren't overly impressive or consistent and only hitting deep balls through your passing game, that was okay. But Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams ain't getting it done the way that those other running back rooms did. Like it is, again, the identity of a team that our brains are like, oh, yeah, it's like Alabama. It's like, yeah, that's a team that can still find their way back here. But it's not the same. They could still, but.
I mean, I'm on the record. I don't think either McClellan or Williams are difference makers at the position. I don't think there's anything, incredible about either of them. But I don't know who would really have a lot of success running behind this offensive line.
Oh, okay, fair. I'm sitting here just singling out the running backs, and we could also go back and be like, where is Barrett Jones? Like, you go ahead and trot it out all the way across.
It's every week. It's like I keep waiting for Alabama to start blocking people, and every week they just don't.
So if 11-1 Alabama beats 12-0 Georgia, do they both get in the playoff and leave very capable and more impressive teams out?
No, Georgia would not have a single win over a ranked team.
12-0 Georgia with a loss to Alabama. So
come on, bud. Kentucky was ranked today.
12-0. Look, if Georgia loses to Alabama, they're not getting in.
You're giving your opinion. I'm telling you what I think the College Football Playoff Selection Committee's opinion is.
Okay, Georgia played nobody in the non-conference. They're going to have 0 wins over ranked teams.
But they'll just put Kentucky in the top 20. They'll put them at like 23. They'll be like 8-4 and at 23 that week. And then they'll say we got ranked wins.
There is certainly a scenario in which they get a ranked win, by the way. Like if somebody will probably win, 3 out of 3 coin flips to end up 9-3.
Georgia Tech just beat Miami. Hello. Good old-fashioned hate coming through with that last ranked win that you need. It's going to be very interesting because Nick Saban, back to our like constant Nick Saban tracker. It's a good team. Really happy to get a win here. I think he's soaking it in, bud.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to leave Nick Saban out. This is his last year.
Hey, man.
Come on. Selection committee. Boo Corrigan. You probably don't live more than 15, 20 minutes from me.
Maybe he signed his name in the bathroom. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. Coming up on the other side. Oh,
yes. I got more ranking stuff. Like,
okay.
I think North Carolina needs to be a little higher.
Of course, they're going to move up a little bit. All right, let's see. Where?
How could you do that to Dino, Chip?
I would jump USC, and I would jump Washington.
Well, no.
Like, to me, North Carolina's had more impressive wins.
I disagree. I disagree in terms of the quality of wins, maybe, but definitely the nature of the wins because they could have lost to App State.
That's fair.
Things got a little dicey against Pitt early.
I'm just happy Drake May finally had like a dude game.
Yes. Like
he had one against Pitt.
Yeah. Now Pitt had shut down the run game.
Like the throws he made against Pitt.
But didn't he have a couple interceptions in that game too?
He's had some WTF throws.
Yeah. Like
he didn't
have that today. Like he just looked like the guy who everybody was talking about him and Caleb Williams being 1-2 before the season. Yeah.
I think that he is my note on North Carolina is that he's hitting his stride at the perfect time. North Carolina is starting a 3-game homestand coming out of a week off. Under Mac Brown, North Carolina has not been good out of the off week, especially when you've been playing well. And they ran them. They ran them out of the building, like from start to finish. It was a strong showing from the Tar Heels. If you want to jump them ahead of Washington on your own ballot, go for it. I don't think that game to game they have been as dominant as Washington or Oregon has been.